Hey guys, it's Moonbrush here. I wanted to make a video to show you guys how I go about my line art process and also what you need to do in order to be successful in that section of your art process. And I want to tell you guys straightforward that there is no perfect way. There is no set way that every single artist follows. There are artists who don't even use line art, but which makes the point of what I'm trying to make is this is specifically for people who want to learn this way of doing line art. My line art way is not the perfect way. I honestly think it's pretty messy, but to me it doesn't matter because when I have the final product, you won't even see the line art. Which leads me to another point is that if you do not care about having messy undersketches, then this video is for you. If you care about having line art that looks good with or without paint, then this video is for you. So as I'm doing right now in this video, I'm just laying down a basic block out, just a sketch that just, in a way, kind of like a gesture, not a perfect gesture, something that gives the illusion of the subject. It's not supposed to be detailed, but you have to make sure that you define your subject, you define the lines, you define the differences in negative and positive space, so that when you move on to your next line art, to your perfect line art phase, I should say, it's not really perfect, but I use that just for the terms here for today. Once you move on to that next section, it makes it a lot easier. And when you make it simplified, like when I did the face just now, I didn't make it perfect eyes, perfect anything, because the detail part's easier, and that is for this part that's coming up. If you already have the basic sketch, then the details will be an easy part to add. When you're doing your basic sketch, I wouldn't be so worried about trying to get it perfect in proportion. Have a general sense of proportion, but try not to stare at your subject, or if you're using reference or not, try not to worry about detail too much, because that's what messes up people, and I know this from experience. But when you get into your line art phase, the second pass, as I'm doing right now, try to stay with single strokes. Don't do what you do in what I did in the rough sketch. It's fine to do that in the rough sketch because that's just going to be thrown away. It's only used as a guide. Try to use the rough sketch as a guide, and also do it better than your rough sketch. Significantly better, preferably. Use it in a way where you're actually outlining the shape of your old sketch, if that makes any sense. That's why it's best that sketches, I generally don't always do this, it depends if it's a dynamic pose, but if it's a basic pose like this, I generally don't put very blocky shapes or circles, because I'm just trying to go forward with an execution of an idea. If I'm focusing more on perfect anatomy, perfect this, and I will most likely use more of an anatomical gestural undersketch, so that when I get to this part, I can sculpt with my pen tool the shape, the desired shape, and also not lose the gesture that I used for the undersketch. And right now, this is a personal preference, but I like to put the face on. I start from the top to bottom, and I usually do the eyes, nose, and lips after I do the hair, or even before, generally after. It kind of motivates me a little bit, and it also gives me a sense of the face to body relation and proportion, because if I have, let's say I don't draw the face and I just draw the body, that really messes you up when you go back to the face, because then you're trying to figure out, okay, I want to do the eyes this way, but it's not looking right. But if you already have the face down, then you kind of already know how to put the body into proportion to match the facial features, and not only the facial features, but the head size itself. Some people, most artists, I've had this issue too, where we make the head like super ginormous or too small into proportion in relation with the body. So that's why personally I always start with the top down, because then you can get the most important parts done, and then everything else that's not drawn yet or has needed to be drawn, you can just look at the rest of the body as reference and say, okay, well, this isn't that big, that isn't too small, I can just downsize this a little bit, and so on and so forth. Like if you just draw and start everywhere else, like you start at the arm, then you go to the leg, like it's a horrible way to, I mean, I'm trying not to hate on other artists, but like I really don't think it's the best way to make a successful drawing. If you're all over the place, there needs to be some consistency. And this doesn't go for this doesn't even go for painting. This is just for line art. Like, you can do that with painting. You can get away with that. That's actually more preferred to do that, to be all over the place. But it really depends on what your workflow is. It's best to have a workflow that is unique to you, but something that works, something that's consistent. Because if you don't have consistency, for my followers know that I've tried so many different styles that I'm surprised they can recognize my artwork. If you don't have consistency, then it makes it hard on everybody, and especially yourself, because it makes you even more confused on what you want to do, and it makes you more confused on what method you want to use as well. Whether you want to use a messy line art method, and the next time you use a perfect line art method. Instead, take the ones you like and then combine them. That's what I had ended up doing. And you don't, and I'm also going to go over my words here and say you don't always have to be the same exact perfect method every time. You can tweak things depending on what the subject or art is. Like, if you're painting a very dark silhouette, or a chiaroscuro, which is just a very white and black or very contrasted portrait, I would go straight in with blocking in with black and white. I wouldn't even use line art, because it's whatever, for me it's easier because I can just sculpt in the shadows since the shadows are so defined. I would not need a line art. So it really depends on what your subject is, what you're comfortable with. You know, what I'm doing here is that, as of every artist can say, we're not perfect at hands, and I'm just going over parts that I don't like, parts that I kind of just did really quickly. And this is a good way to do it if you want to not waste time. That's why I say when you go into your second pass of line art, make sure you just focus on getting the line the best you can, not perfect, because you can always go over later and fix it. Like this, I just did a basic whatever hand. I didn't even make it perfect, because I knew later I could go over it anyway. And even this hand's not perfect, but it's good enough for the line art that I'm showing you guys today. Generally, when I put down lines, I put down one line, because it's going to make it a lot harder to clean up later on. Yes, it is kind of uncomfortable a little bit to get used to that method. It was very uncomfortable for me when I was in art class. Like, they told us that we needed to not have scratchy chicken scratch lines, that we had to do one long stroke, S's, C's, or kind of curves. And it was hard to get used to, because I was so used to just making chicken scratch. But it's so much more rewarding being able to do that using your shoulder to do so. And I'm drawing on my iPad, so this won't be that easy for artists who are using a small Intuos pad, which is what I used to use. But yeah, I actually, just to kind of venture off just for a side second, I was using Intuos. I lost my pen when I moved, so I was looking for alternatives, being on a low budget, and I realized my iPad I could use as a drawing pad, and I bought Procreate for $6, and I had a stylus laying around, and I was like, okay, I'll draw. And people were like, oh, you need the perfect Apple Pencil, blah, 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 blah. I'm using some basic $2-3 pen stylus, like the 2-in-1. I didn't even think it would work as well as I thought, and I've been able to make paintings and all this stuff with it. So I think because since it lacks detail in the precision of the pen, I'm able to make paintings where I'm not focused on detail so much, which used to be my issue. But that's for another video. Now I'm just cleaning up, seeing what I could do better, reworking my lines. And even when I fix stuff, I still don't do the chicken scratch. I do exactly what I did when I first made that original line. I go over it again. And I could even make this more perfect than I did in this video, but the subject and for the purpose I'm making this video for is to show you how to do it. Now, I could have went and made it perfect, but it wasn't necessary, and I'm not coloring this in either. This is just a line art. So, but if I was coloring this in, then I probably would go in and fix it up a little bit more. But right now, I wanted to show you guys, if you guys just are line art drawers, or line art artists, what you could do in the process, what my process is. And there's a lot more I could even talk about, but just for the sake of time for this video, I decided to just go with 2 subjects. And I decided to make a little bit of some body type diversity. I went with a, I would guess an average sized woman to, an and not average sized woman, I would say, with some more weight to her. I probably made her a bit bigger than she is in the reference photo. But I just wanted to show you guys my process. Like, I think it's more fun drawing people who have more weight to them, because in the gesture process, it's just shapes. Whereas you can't really do that with people who are very skinny, because if you get a shape wrong, you have to rework it again. Whereas with people who are bigger, or anybody with a subject with bigger shapes, you can get away with that. And then when it comes to the working over with the next pass of lines, there's a big error. Can't really find the words, but basically you have more room for error, supposedly. And I like working with larger shapes. It's fun. I like shapes, values, and forms. I know not everyone's like that, and also too, I've always drawn like skinny people and all this, and I don't even draw bodies that much either. So I thought it'd be nice to change it up a bit. And this is realistic. I mean, there are people who are of this size. So I even have people in my family who are in this size. Everyone knows somebody who is this size. So it's not something that's so out of the blue, or so random, or so unaccepted, or something of that sort, or not seen in real life. So, and this actually works as a great model for anybody I want to draw with a little bit of weight to them, or with a lot of weight to them. You could use this. I keep saying me, but you guys can also use this to help you. But also, when you are only drawing one type of thing, it kind of keeps you in this one type of drawing mode. So it's always good to push your boundaries. And here I am struggling with hand again. I know no one likes to do hand studies, and no one wants to do this or that, but that's what happens when you don't draw hands enough. But anyway, I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. But I thought I'd just lighten it up a bit. And also I had a idea for another video where I'd just go in and draw male and females of different ages, and even like different stands and postures with personality, and just put what you think would be a great topic for the next video. I'm still learning as an artist. I am not perfect. I am not mastered. Even the masters didn't think they were masters. They were still learning every day. They were still attending art classes. And it's really inspiring to see that, because there seems to be some kind of preconception or some notion that people who are successful in art are masters. If they thought they were masters, they wouldn't be where they were today. If they just stopped and said, I got this down. I must be a master. I don't need to learn anymore. They would not be here where they are today. It's because they keep changing and growing and finding new things that they like. But anyway, if I want to talk about art history, I could probably make another video on that. But for this line art, for larger people, from what I've noticed after drawing, is that it's actually a lot more important to get proportions right on a larger person. Because I guess the bigger something is, the easier it is to spot a mistake. I guess that sounds kind of messed up, but I mean, that's literally in physics. I mean, and in the art world too, the bigger something is, the easier it is to see the mistake. So, as I said, it was easier to make errors. At the same time, it's not. And with line art in the face, I also wanted to add, you can make it as detailed or as minimal as you want. It depends on your style, and it depends on whether you're going to paint over the line art or not. For me, I'm not even painting over this line art, so I made it a little more detailed than I usually do. And now I'm going back and cleaning up some things. I don't think this line art is perfect. I think it's good enough for the demonstration. But I could have detailed in the shoes, but then again, it depends on what you're doing. I usually leave shoes blank because I end up painting in all the different details, because shoes are way too complicated and I don't need a bunch of complicated line art for it. I just wanted to let you guys know that and just show you my process. So if you guys are interested, just leave a like, subscribe, tell a friend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.